Okay, some from 2020 polls to impeachment polls. Top Democrats have long said they needed impeachment hearings in order to convince the American people. Is it working? Joining me now, the former press secretary for former House Speaker Paul Ryan, Ashlee Strong, and Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall. Great to have you both with us tonight.
Great to be with you.
Okay, I want to start with this, a couple of things from Monmouth. Let's start first with impeachment support among independent voters. When it breaks out here, 55% oppose, 36% support. So, Ashlee, it looks like for now the House Democrats' attempts to woo the independents isn't working, at least on this topic.
Absolutely. What we've seen, as you mentioned, is polling going either slightly less in favor of impeachment or staying static. And I think yesterday's news and today's news with the IG report coming out showing clear, blatant problems at the DOJ in targeting the president will only help solidify those numbers for him. But at the moment, the Democrats have failed to make their case, and clearly the polling is showing that it's very static in nature.
Well, okay, so another part of the Democrats' trouble, possibly here in the Monmouth poll, is when they ask people what they think Democrats are after. Pursuing the facts, 33%, but bringing down Trump was at 59%. Leslie, that seems to suggest that people think this is more about a takedown than it is about acting on principle.
But I think, and I actually wrote an article for Fox today about how it's patriotism and not politics, and I got a lot of grief and pushback, as you can imagine. But I think that the polls actually show that it's not political, because if you're Speaker Pelosi and you're looking at the polls, and the polls are either stagnant or they're coming down, and you see those swing voters, you see independent voters that are more opposed to it than in favor of it, well, if it is political, you would completely back off, and we just don't see her doing that.
Well, do you think, though, that she's too far down the road, Leslie? I mean, because, it seems like at this point there's been these whispers about censure, but like, no way, we're not doing that. We're so far down this path. It's impeachment or nothing.
I don't think it's so far down the path. I think that she took her time, and there was a reason she took her time. Now, originally she said that she did want bipartisan support, and I think she thought that she would get that, and I think it's clear that she won't. But I really feel that she, as the House Speaker, is doing what the House needs to do, that it is their obligation to uphold the Constitution and to keep those branches of power equal and to keep the president in check with the House over the executive branch.
Okay, we've had a number of Democrats in the last few days say things like, listen, we have to stop him because otherwise he will get reelected, or there's a chance he could get reelected. So, that suggests some very interesting take on why moving ahead with impeachment right now is so important. But this comes as we look at another poll going into next year's reelection. This is a Quinnipiac poll. Are you better off now? That question that people are always asked before they head to the ballot box. 57% say people say that they're better off financially than they were in 2016. 22% say worse off, or 19% saying the same. So my math's not great, but I mean, you're into 76%, I think, that say they're the same or better. Ashlee, how do Democrats run against that?
It's really hard to run against an incumbent president as is, and it's particularly hard to run against an incumbent president who has a good record. We saw last week the jobs report coming out, blowing out of the water any expectations that we had on new jobs, on wage growth. We're seeing the trickle down into the middle and lower income demographics, and it's certainly going to be tough for anyone to try to take on the president in that environment, let alone in an environment where all we're talking about is impeachment. I think this is an unforced error by the Democrats. I think it's a politically unsavvy move, and unfortunately for them, it's taking all of the oxygen out of the room as it relates to the presidential race right now.
Yeah, I mean, Leslie, what about that? Because, whether it's a Democrat or a Republican that's in the White House, when there's a good economy, it's really tough for the opposing party to make a good run at the White House.
Well, there are a couple of things. First, there are people that are watching these hearings, but the hearings aren't changing their mind, and I didn't think they would. But when you look at what matters to them, and even though everybody says in the past, James Carville with the Clinton years, it's the economy, stupid, it's really health care now. And it's not just health care, it's immigration and some of those other issues, although health care comes under the umbrella of economy. A lot of Americans don't look at it as that. And also, if things were so great, then President Trump would be leading. And in a lot of states that he won, he is not leading, or if he is, just by 1 percentage point in some of these battleground states that we're seeing Democrats do fairly well in.
All right, Ashlee, final word to you as we look now at the Democratic field in flux, people peaking and ebbing and flowing. We're still a few weeks out from the first official vote by the primary voters, but what do you make of the field as we know it?
Sure. Well, we're 6 to 7 weeks away and 2 debates away from the Iowa caucuses. We still have plenty of time for the field to mature. But as of right now, it shouldn't be confidence-inspiring seeing additional candidates jumping in the race at this stage. So hopefully for the Democrats, we'll see some coalescing. But as of right now, it's a pretty disparate field.
Yeah, I'd be irritated if I was already running for a year and then somebody else jumped in. But that's the way politics works. All right, Leslie and Ashlee, great to have both of you.
Thank you.
Shannon.